So I went to turn the mower off yesterday, and the key basically had a hard time coming out of the ignition. And when I tried to put the key back in, it wouldn't crank. And so basically I had to take the ignition apart, and the ignition housing just fell completely apart. Like all the little pieces inside of it just came apart. There were springs that fell, little plastic bearings, and I was having a hard time trying to figure out whether or not I could piece this back together. So I looked up ignition units or whatever on online, and I found some replacement ones on Tractor Supply. So I'm just going to basically undo this one. This is basically the bottom side of that, and just see if it'll work. So after replacing the switch, it would not start. So I had to check the fuse, which I pulled, and it is definitely blown. As you can see there's supposed to be a connecting piece in between the two prongs. Luckily, I have an entire box of 15 amp fuses. I'm going to replace that and see if that works. All right, this is the first time I'm trying to start it with one hand, so we'll twist it and see what happens. Still not. So next problem. So this is the generic ignition switch that I got from Tractor Supply, and I installed it and started blowing fuses. First off, I thought that whoever had the lawnmower last was running the wrong size fuse in there, because it was 15 amps. Whereas the manufacturer calls for a 30 amp fuse. So I went and bought a box of fuses, and 30 amp fuses, and tried one, and it still blew the fuse. Didn't even try to start. As soon as I turned the switch, it was no noise, no clicking, no nothing. Checked the fuse and it was blown. So it turns out that these prongs, even though they line up perfectly with the wire harness in the mower, they are labeled completely different. Now, I don't know what all the letters mean, but if you do a side-by-side comparison to the stock ignition switch, the letters are not the same. So I ended up having to order an actual original manufacturer's ignition, which is this one. And again, the prongs line up exactly the same, but the lettering, which isn't on the housing itself, is actually on the prongs. You see there an L. They're different. So as you can see, this gold one is on the left and this gold one is on the right. So I'm going to be replacing it with the original manufacturer's ignition switch, which costs a little bit more, but I mean, if the generic one doesn't work, it doesn't work. So I skipped over the actual installation part. It was really quick. All I had to do is plug in the wiring harness. There wasn't any intricate wiring or anything that needed to be done, just to plug and play. Screwed that ignition in, bolted this panel back on. It did not come with a key, so the stock key will supposedly work. So I'll just stick that in there, twist, and